Welcome to the Feeling Lighter podcast. I'm Coach Tyler, here today with Dr. Lisa. This is like my favorite part of every podcast when I get to look over at your face and get that smile. I'm like, is she going to laugh? Like, what's she going to do right now?
I'm in a giggly mood. I know. Hi, Tyler. I am
Hello.
well. How are you?
I'm doing all right. I'm excited today because we get to interview a friend of yours. Yeah?
Yes.
Someone
I
who
love that.
really seems to practice what they preach, which is exciting because, in a world of just us drowning in social media, and then I don't know about you, but I've met a lot of people that said they were going to do these great things, and then behind the scenes you're like, oh damn. But like, if you can just live in your integrity, in your
Yeah,
authenticity, and show up and serve the world in a positive way, man, we need a lot more of that, don't we? And not a lot
absolutely.
more people talking about it, a lot of more people doing it,
Doing
right?
it. Yes.
So I've been printing out some social media posts
Yeah.
for people and sliding in with some of the quotes, and this one's really interesting, right? Because I went on the social media platform and I'm like, she's not really here, she's not really here right now. And I printed out this post, okay, and this was from like 3 or 4 months ago, I think, and it said, "Prioritizing my wellness. Goodbye for now. Practicing what I preach. Nothing matters if I am not well. No one is coming to save me and make me well. Only I can do that. Business, academia, family responsibilities, community work have drained me dry. So, goodbye. V." Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
Vernisha, can you expand on this quote and just tell people like why you do that? Why did you do that?
So I've been an entrepreneur for 8 years. It'll be 9 years this coming July. And I think I reached a point in my entrepreneurial career where I had checked off all the boxes. I had done all the things. I had achieved everything that I wanted to achieve, all the goals, and I didn't have any more to work toward. And that felt very weird. I felt very stressed and I couldn't figure out why I was feeling stressed. Um, and so I'm like, instead of me trying to create something or trying to push through this, whatever this thing is, let me just listen to my mind and my body and stop because I literally have nothing ahead of me. I did everything that I set out to do. And I was like, maybe I just deserve to just not do anything for a moment. Let me just sit still, reset, not drive myself crazy trying to create more goals and try to figure out new things because nothing was feeling natural, nothing was feeling organic, nothing was feeling in flow. Um, and I always say, like, when I don't have peace, I have to stop until I get it.
When I
So
don't
that's what
have
I
peace, I
decided to
have to
do.
stop. Ooh,
Mm-hmm.
that's a good
Yeah.
quote too. We should
That
keep
is a
that.
good
People should.
quote.
That's so amazing that you're doing that because I think that, we see a lot of people get to these retirement years. And first of all, they think their retirement years are going to be like all amazing and they can do whatever they want, but maybe they didn't treat their bodies all that well and they end up not being able to do the things they want. But they also just are like busy, 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 busy. We just
Yeah.
rehearse being busy and then we end up dying being busy, right?
Yeah, for
And so I
sure.
think it's so commendable for you to say, I got to this place, and instead of inventing a new goal and staying busy and chasing that, right, which usually comes from just this, at least in my experience, inability to be present with yourself, inability
Mhm.
to just be,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
In doing that, I'm so grateful that there are people in this world that just go, no, I'm just gonna just like be, and I'm gonna like give
Mhm.
myself some grace and just settle into this for a moment.
Yeah, and I can say
Yeah.
that firsthand, being around Vernisha, she is a go getter and she does all the things. And I want you to tell our listeners a little bit about what you do. We got connected through mutual friends and acquaintances, but I actually got my trauma informed certification through you and your
Mhm.
company. And so the work that she's doing is very worthy work, but I think it's so important that, we started this conversation with the fact that she had to just stop.
Yeah.
But if you could tell our listeners like more about you and your work and what you were doing in the community and how you kind of got to this point where you just like, you know what, it's time to just sit down for a minute.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to keep this short because I do
You're
a lot.
fine. You do a
There's
very
so
lot.
many different components. So I'll start with, how I'll start with the trauma informed piece. So, um, in one sentence, what you would know about me is that I'm a organizational consultant. And what I focus on is helping managers, leaders, businesses, organizations. I help them understand how important it is to prioritize the well being of their employees. And um, employee well being is it's almost like this small niche little area that people believe it's limited to employment assistance programs like EAP,
Mm-hmm.
benefits, healthcare, things that employees do outside of the job. My consulting firm slash institute really
Mm-hmm.
focused on the things that needed to be changed while people are at work. So people are experiencing a lot of stress at work, from how long meetings are ran, for how from how meetings are structured, to the hiring process, to employee engagement, to how tasks are assigned, how teamwork looks, how people manage conflict. There's a lot of things that happen on the job. And most times, they say, like, leave all that stuff that you're dealing with at home, leave that at the door. When you're at the job, I need you here present at the job. And that sounds good, but it is totally like
It's
impossible.
bullshit.
Yeah, it
It's
is.
complete
Yeah,
bullshit.
it's
Yeah,
BS.
business is
Exactly.
business. Keep your personal life at home. It's like, no, you're an integrated human being.
You
There's no
are,
way you're not going to show up and feel what you're feeling,
for
right?
sure.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Like, I'm a mom of a 9 year old now. I can't believe she's 9, but there is no way I'm taking off my mom hat ever, right?
Right.
Like, if my daughter call me, text me, whatever I'm doing in that moment, sorry, bye.
Mm-hmm.
So what I teach leaders and employees and organizations to do is to acknowledge, like, yeah, this business is here, it is important. I know we get paid, but this is transactional. We are human beings and we're very relational, and there are so many dimensions of our world that is not work that impacts how we show up to work and how we, deal with people. And then if you dive really, really deep into it, my company, the Trauma Informed Institute, specializes in helping people understand what trauma is, what it means, how it impacts people, how it shows up in your adult life and how it shows up in your relationships, how it shows up in how you lead, how it shows up how you view teamwork. Some people may think that teamwork is you listen to what I say because I know what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
Others may think teamwork is let's talk about this because I don't really trust myself that much. Let me get your opinion, and your opinion. And others may think that teamwork is like, I'm not doing anything. Just I'm gonna sit on the sideline. Like, wait, I'm gonna wait to the end. And those approaches stem from things that we have experienced in our past, things that we have experienced in our childhood. They shape how we show up to work. So the Trauma Informed Institute focuses on all of those things. So we're not talking about self-care. We're not talking about, eat healthy. Those are very important things. We're really talking about the 8 dimensions of wellness, and it's through the lens of understanding what trauma is. So that's the organizational consulting side. Now, the second part to that is my nonprofit, which is BYE Foundation. And this is how Dr. Lisa and I got connected. My foundation is where I get to have fun and I don't have to be like politically correct about anything. I get to offer these amazing workshops and educational opportunities to communities, families, children, people who may not work for these large organizations that pay for professional development. So I get to have fun. And so I have all of these amazing, community programs that I offer through my foundation. I get to raise the dollars. I get to give the money the way that I believe it should be given. Not just me, my board too. But it's a way for us to really promote community wellness, family wellness in a way that's fun, in a way that's free, in a way that's intentional. And it's not this black and white cookie cutter, here's some metrics, here's some goals, here's a clear plan. It's just us creating a community, coming together, having conversations, having fun, and still making a difference in, children and families' lives. So that's on the BYE Foundation side. I'll pause there.
Love it.
I love it. You're out there
It's
making a
good stuff.
difference.
She
It's so
really is.
good. And it
Yeah.
just is so clear to me just by how you're speaking and how you talk about your work that it's such a joyful experience for you, and
Mhm.
also that you're just like really there to give. And I think that
Yeah.
that's what people need to think a lot more about, is
Yeah.
giving rather
Yeah.
than getting. And
Mhm.
I heard you say something a second ago. You said the eight principal
Dimensions of
dimensions.
wellness.
I couldn't remember exactly what you said. What are
Yeah.
those eight something somethings that you just said? Because that sounded like something we should
Okay.
talk about today.
Yes. So the eight dimensions of wellness, the two that most people are familiar with is the first is emotional wellness. So you may think like mental health. And then you have physical health. So, people we know those two, mental and physical wellness. But there are six others that are really important, and they are quite often ignored
Yeah.
and not leveraged properly. So we have emotional wellness, physical wellness, we have intellectual wellness. And intellectual wellness is not about how smart you are and your academics and how good your grades are. It's really about you fostering curiosity and using your ability to learn to improve your life.
Are you
So
learning?
intellectual
Yeah.
wellness. We then have financial wellness. Financial
Mm.
wellness is not about how much money you have, but it's really about your satisfaction with what you have and the plan of what you need in the future so that you can be financially well.
Yeah.
We also have environmental wellness. Environmental wellness, it does include like clean air, clean water, but it's also you considering, is the environment that I am currently in, is it adding to my well-being or is it taking away from my well-being?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's for like toxic workplaces and your friendships and all those things come into play.
Yeah.
We then have occupational or vocational wellness. And so that considers your satisfaction with your work. And there are people who are, retired, so they're not necessarily working. So we also add in vocational. So it could be how you spend your time,
Mm-hmm.
meaning maybe how you volunteer, right?
Yeah. Your
And
hobbies.
so what is your satisfaction level with that? We then have social wellness. And social wellness is about your ability to create satisfying and healthy relationships. So, having a healthy support system. It's not about being social, but it's about the healthy relationships that you have formalized in your life and your ability to lean on them when needed. Um, did I cover all of them? I was
I
trying
think
to
so.
count them all. I think I did. Was that six or eight?
I think it was eight. So emotional,
I think
physical, vocational, environmental, social,
financial,
occupational,
social.
financial.
Yeah.
We
Is
got
that
it
Think
eight?
all.
so.
Okay. We
Okay.
got him.
So for those of us who are listening and are like, ooh, yeah,
So
that's a
many,
lot.
so many areas.
Right? Like, I got to get myself together right now. Obviously, you're not coming in and trying to create more emotional and mental pressure on people, but
Right.
rather eliminate that or like lessen it over time. How do
Yeah.
you approach the starting point for someone who maybe isn't physically, mentally, financially, doesn't necessarily love their job? Like, how do you approach somebody and identify like where do we start, and how do
Yeah.
we give you something that's palatable for you?
So I always tell people to start where identify the area that you are most satisfied in.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Like which area that you are completely satisfied in. Not stable, but satisfied,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because there's a difference between stable and satisfied. Um, and when you identify that area, I think it's important for you to just like reflect on that, nestle on that, invest in more of that. So it comes to a point where there's an abundance of satisfaction. And the reason why you want to have an abundance of satisfaction in an area is because at that point, you have an abundance, you have something to give, remove, or shift to another area. We
Mm.
tend to always start where we lack.
The
So, like,
most,
oh,
yeah.
my mental health is struggling. I need to go talk to somebody. And we don't realize how integrated these dimensions of wellness are. So let's say I say like my mental health is suffering, I need to go to a therapist. That's going to impact your financial wellness in some way,
Yeah.
right? But if you're not satisfied and have an abundance of, or if your finances is saying, hey, we can't we can't afford a therapist right now. Like if it's
Mm-hmm.
saying we can't afford, then you don't need to do that because now you are negatively impacting two areas. Mental
That's a great
health
point.
can be, yeah, mental health can be improved in other ways that don't cost money, right? You
Mm-hmm.
may not necessarily need to go to a therapist or don't need to start there yet. Maybe it's as simple as you walking and moving your body. That's my
Mm-hmm.
favorite thing. You're walking and moving your body. You just go take a run and you do 10 jumping jacks or you do 10 push-ups or you do something to shock the nervous system or your mind or your brain to stop whatever thought you're thinking or whatever feeling you're feeling. You can do that in 5 minutes and that don't cost you any money. So I always say start where you have an abundance, and then you can, and you don't even have to start where you lack the most because that could be a huge gap,
Yeah.
right? It should feel very natural and organic and not forced. It should feel like, oh, you know what? My mental health is struggling, but I got some great friends. Let me call Dr. Lisa. And I
This,
call Dr. Lisa.
this is so cool. I'm so happy you
It's a
said
different
that because I
approach.
think that everybody tends to err on the side of like, let me find my greatest weakness and fix it,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And we know that that's really challenging because you're not ready for that. You don't have the capacity for that. It's going to be a
Mhm.
long, challenging journey.
Yeah.
But if you take somebody's experience in life and you start at like, oh, this is like easy for me, or this is something that's really good, and you kind of just nurture that, and then go, okay, what's
Mhm.
next, right? It's almost like exposure therapy in a way. You're
Yeah.
just giving people little bite sizes of things that they can properly handle, and then
Yeah,
eventually they get to those other things. And it's just it's
absolutely.
so cool. I'm happy that you're saying that because I swear I bet you most people listen like, damn, I've been doing this wrong my whole life, right?
100%. 100%.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. We have been doing it wrong our whole life. I mean, we have overemphasized physical health, and that's unfortunately like a visual thing when it's really not about what you see. It's really about what you feel,
What you
what your body
exactly.
can do, the capacity that your body has. Part of physical wellness is also, nutrients. It's also sleep. For
Mm-hmm.
me personally, while I've been away from work these past 8 months,
Woo.
I have slept more than I have ever slept in my life. Like I have no makeup on right now.
Look at you. Okay,
I don't
glowy.
have like dark eyes, but it's because I'm sleeping,
Mm-hmm.
right? And
Who'd have
my
thought?
stress, yeah, I mean, my stress could have been from operating from just 4 to 5 hours or 6 hours of sleep and getting up and like doing this crazy high stress routine. So sometimes it's not even about what you need to do more of. Maybe it's something that you need to do less of.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
I,
yeah,
I like
that's
that
how
you
wellness
said
works.
that. That was really good because I think so many people will end up stressing themselves at their job or not getting enough sleep or maybe not taking care of
Mhm,
themselves, and then
mhm.
it's like they'll go and wreck their relationship
Yeah.
saying that you did this and this is really right, but really it's like, hold on, I got to go take care of myself and I'm not doing that,
Yeah.
right? And I think
Exactly.
Yeah.
it's such a common thing that we don't recognize that, wait, I'm just not taking care of myself enough in order to be able to
Yeah.
Yes.
show up with as much capacity as I need to just stay in a kind, loving place
Mhm.
around anybody, right?
Yeah.
I give the example quite often. It's kind of like when you are not taking care of yourself, it does transfer over to other people and how you interact with them. Like that's like the
Mm-hmm.
main thing about wellness. And it's kind of like when you're running late for work and you're driving, but like all of a sudden nobody can drive because you're the one that's running late, right? Like you get to a yellow
Get
light,
out the
someone's slowing
way.
down, you're like, move, speed up. Like, why are you slowing down? Well, because it's a yellow light, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
that's what you're supposed to do. Now I don't do that. I do speed through. But
Yeah.
when we're running late, we tend to blame everyone around
Mm-hmm.
us. Like they can't drive, they're going slow. Like, you have that road rage, but it's really that you're just dysregulated, you're upset, and you really just need to take a moment and say, "Whew, it's not them, it's me." It
Mm-hmm.
really isn't. And you need to have that breakup with whatever toxic environment you're creating. You need to say, "Ooh, this is not anybody around me. This is me bringing this energy into this space and I'm projecting it on them. And, but what you're really doing is it's a mirror. You are projecting and it's a mirror. And now people are giving you what you are putting out.
What you're
So
putting out.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
telling you, it really does. Wellness starts with self, and
Mm-hmm.
you have to have many conversations with yourself. Like, you are not taking care of yourself if you're not holding yourself accountable.
That's so
Wellness is really all about
good.
accountability.
Yeah, for
It was
yourself.
self
It
accountability.
is.
Yeah.
That example you gave of like the rushing, I had to experience that in my home. Whereas
Mhm.
like, I would get upset because my kids were taking too long, but really it was because I was sleeping as late as possible and
Yeah.
creating a very like toxic situation for us in the mornings. So I'm
Yeah.
like yelling at them, like, come on, hurry up. And it's like, girl, if you would just take your butt to bed at night, get up when you're supposed to get up, then you're regulated, you've done the things you need to do,
Hmm.
and then they
Hmm.
walk into their stuff much easier. And
Hmm.
I realize that I'm sending my kids to school like stressed out and angry because I'm stressed out and angry because I'm
Hmm.
not doing what I'm supposed to do. So I'm glad that you
Yeah.
brought up the accountability piece and wellness. And it's like, if I just
Hmm.
wake up when I'm supposed to, everything goes
Um,
fairly smoothly.
It's so
yeah. And it's
important.
hard.
It
It's
is
hard
hard.
as
It is
parents,
hard.
because you
Yeah.
get to the end of the night and you're like, I haven't had any me time. So you either watch a little bit of TV or
Or
you
get on the
scroll or you
phone. You
get
want to
caught up
scroll.
with you
Mm-hmm.
get caught up with the current events, and then you get lost. Now it's like 1 a.m. and you're like, oh, no, I got to get up. But I've done the same thing. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'll tell my daughter, here's our schedule. We got to
Yep.
leave the house at 7:20. My daughter will
Mm-hmm.
come into my room and say, all right, mom, it's time to get up. And I'm like, I mean, I know I told you the schedule, but
But get
like,
out.
move. Why are you in here?
I
But
love it.
we absolutely set the tone for any child that's in
Mm-hmm.
our presence. The
Yeah.
adults in the room are the ones who set the tone. And that is why it's so important for us to understand what wellness is, for us to practice it so that we model it so they see
Yeah.
and know what it means to take care of themselves. Because if we are the ones that's always rushing, we're the ones that's yelling, all we're doing is teaching them and modeling them what the norm
What the
is, and
norm
it's
is.
actually not normal. It shouldn't be normal to be dysregulated every day,
Yeah, it's
Oh
common, but
man.
not
all the
normal.
time.
Not
Yeah.
No.
okay.
My father-in-law says something beautiful about this. He says, "More is caught than taught," and
Hmm.
that gave me a lot of inspiration to make sure that I'm taking care of myself in a
Yeah.
visible way
Right.
around my children. And they
Yeah.
don't care about anything I'm doing right now. I try to get them to do this stuff that makes me feel good, but they don't care about it right now. But it was a big shift for me because I remember years ago getting a little blamey, right? And being like, oh, this is your fault and your fault. And I finally was like, you know what? You just need to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
And I started
Yeah.
taking care of myself and started going, hey, what are the things that make me feel grounded and regulated? And
Mm-hmm.
as I do those things, I'm like, oh, I become almost invincible to a lot of these other stresses, or at least much
Hmm.
more tolerable to them.
Right.
And I went
Hmm.
as far as to tattoo those things on the inside of my forearm.
He did.
So when
Oh.
I'm meditating in the morning, I look down and say, am I getting enough sleep? Am I eating enough good food? Am I doing some strength and flexibility? Am I feeling my
Hmm.
feelings? Am I expressing
Yeah.
gratitude? Right? And it's
Yeah.
just so important. So I think people really need to take that to heart.
Yeah.
Big
Hmm.
time.
I agree. I agree.
Vernisha, can we talk a little bit about trauma? I know it's kind of a buzzword for a lot of
Mm.
people, but it's
Hmm.
obviously your area of expertise. If you could just talk about like what trauma is, what it looks like, and why it is important to acknowledge it and,
Yeah.
have some knowledge around its impact on your day-to-day life.
Yeah. So there is a lot right now.
Mm-hmm.
For the it's been a lot around trauma for the past couple of years.
Yeah.
And, I want to first start with saying, this is not um, a topic or a subject to play with. It's not a
Mm-hmm.
topic or subject to read a snippet of and then go out and try to tell everybody what you've read. It's also not something to take lightly if you haven't dealt with your own.
Right.
Because if you're trying to educate from a place where you're not properly healed or you're educating as you're healing, there's a lot of danger in that. So
Mm.
I want to say that as a disclaimer. So I like to just give scientific, definitions. This comes from me studying psychology with a specialization in trauma and natural disaster at the PhD level. I'm not finished. I took a pause on that too. But
Good for
just
you.
know that, lots of education and intentionality and me learning has went into this. So when we think about trauma and we hear the word trauma, I need people to know that it is something that you experience, and I like to break it down with using the three E's. So the first E is there's an event that takes place. And the three of us could all experience the same event, but we're going to experience it differently. So that's the second E. So there's an event that could be a wildfire, that could be I'm trying not to say things that may activate people too much, but that could be a car wreck. That could be us witnessing, a death or something very hard, right? So there's the event that take place, and then the second E is the experience. So I can't remember what this movie was called, but I remember there was a movie that told the same story. It was like people at a press conference or a big event, and the story told the perspective from six different people. All six of
Mm.
those people experienced that event so differently.
Oh, Vantage
So the
Point, I think.
vantage point, yeah,
Yeah,
that's what it
great
Yeah.
is. Yeah,
movie.
it's a great, go back and watch it.
Yeah.
So first E is event, second E is experience, the third E is the effect. So the effect could be something that happens immediately. It could also be something that is short term, or something that is long term. And then you have effects that are completely delayed. So, to give a small, quick example, let's say the three of us are driving in a car. We're going to Lisa's favorite restaurant. We're playing your favorite music, and I'm in the back seat. Lisa's driving in the passenger seat. I'm in the back seat, and we are at a stoplight. Our light turns green. We run through that light, and then a red truck comes and just hits us out of the middle of nowhere. It T-bones us, but our car spins, flips over. We land in a ditch, and the other car kind of the red truck flips over. So the three of us have experienced. We have just went through the same event, but because Lisa is driving, you're in the passenger seat, and I'm in the back seat, we all have experienced that completely differently. And this other person that's involved in that red truck, they've experienced it differently too, because they're the ones who ran through a red light. So we're going to have effects that impact us differently as well. So my effect could be immediate. I could have a broken ankle and a broken shoulder. That's physical trauma, right? Like that, the doctor's gonna be like, that's physical trauma. Bones are broken in the body. That's immediate. Uh, you, on the other hand, could completely, like, you don't even know your name. You don't know where you are. You're crying. Police officer comes up to you and say like, hey, what's your name? Like, I don't know. I don't even know where I am. It's also immediate for you. But Dr. Lisa could get out of the car. She could go run over to where that red truck is, ask that person if they're okay. She's the one who calls 911. She's checking on everybody, making sure everybody's good. In that moment, the effect is not immediate for her. She has a clear path to what we call her thinking brain. She can think logically. You and I, on the other hand, we're so, impacted by it, we don't have access to our thinking brain. And that's what trauma does. Whenever you go through the event and experience it, you experience the trauma when you do not have access to your thinking brain or the ability to think logically, right? So it's not until we I go to the hospital, Dr. Lisa is good. She drives you back to, wherever we are. And you're still kind of like hyperventilating. You're like, oh, this is just so much. And she's like, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. Right. And everybody's looking at Dr. Lisa like, wow, she's a strong friend, right? Like, man, she's not impacted by it. And then they may look at you and say, he's overreacting. Dr. Lisa's fine.
Hmm.
She got hit on her side. Like, he's overreacting. He's just drawing this out.
How are you
Right.
describing me so well? No, I'm just come on. I'm just kidding.
Silly.
But like this is what's happening. So, but let's fast forward 2 weeks. My ankle's healed. I'm in a sling. Things are okay for me. You're like, oh, I get shaky. I don't even like to listen to that same music anymore because it reminds me of that car wreck. So that's where we start to, kind of dial into a little bit of PTSD, where when you hear the song, you think back to that car wreck because the impact is so grand. And Dr. Lisa's 2 weeks in, she's still standing strong, like, nah, I'm good. But let's fast forward to like maybe 5 years. And Dr. Lisa's sitting at a red light, and she goes through and she sees a red truck, and she starts to hyperventilate. Her heart starts to increase, or she starts to sweat, and she can't drive anymore. She has to stop. it's at that moment where the trauma is now present in her life. And it's from the past, but it's from that car wreck. And the reason why it's so important for people to know that trauma is something you experience in the body, is physiological, is because Dr. Lisa wouldn't know what's happening except for the fact that she's experiencing something in her body, right? She see the red check. She hasn't made the connection yet, but she's like, my heart rate is increasing. I'm sweating. I'm crying. What's wrong with me right now? And that's what we tend to say, like, what's wrong with me? But it's because there's that memory of that car wreck. It's nestled in her body because she didn't deal with it immediately when it happened. She had to be the strong friend. So it's not till 5 years later that it comes back up for you. So in short, Dr. Lisa, trauma
No, this
is
is so good.
something, it's something you experience in your body. It could be immediate, delayed, short term, or long term. So you want to always be cognizant of and sensitive to the event, the how people experience, and then the effect that it may have on the different individuals involved.
I love that you describe that so in so much detail because
Yeah.
we do talk about trauma a lot on this podcast with various different guests. And one thing I really liked about what you said was we don't have access to our thinking brain. And I feel like this is a really, and correct me if I'm wrong, but this feels like a really clear sign that when we're, years down the road, whatever it takes, and we lose access to our thinking brain, that
Yeah.
underneath that is something that probably needs to be looked at, examined, and hopefully healed and dealt with in the long run.
Yeah.
Does that sound accurate to
Absolutely.
you?
It's absolutely accurate. And it's I remember my mom and my dad and maybe my grandma, the old folks, I'm gonna just say, well, I don't want to say the old folks, the seasoned folks used to say.
Yeah, cut that out, guys. Cut that
Yeah, cut that part. But the seasoned folks would say, like, whatever's in the heart will come out. And, or they'll say things like, whatever people say they mean. And once I learned about trauma, I'm like, oh, wait, that's actually not true.
Yeah.
Because if you think about when you're angry and we say things, it's not, you may not necessarily really mean what you're saying. You're just so dysregulated. You are so upset. Your nervous system is so like dysregulated that your brain literally is offline and you are not thinking when you are speaking. And when trauma happens, you cannot think. It's just science. You are trying to survive the moment. So it may appear that, let's say, Dr. Lisa, if we go back to that example, that she has clear access to her thinking brain because she's handling everything. She's calling 911. She's checking on everybody. That actually could be one of Dr. Lisa's survival strategies, which is handle it. So she actually could be operating from her survival brain because that's how she's grown up her whole life.
I
When
don't
there's
really,
chaos,
I don't really like that we're having this.
Yeah, get get this girl a bag or a hot pad or
right?
something.
Breathe it out, breathe it out.
Whoa, no, because we don't have Kleenex here. And listen, I don't think this is fair because she does know me, but literally, like, I don't even know. I mean, you were joking. I mean, not joking, just making an example,
Just an
but
example.
100% is how I handle trauma. Like
Mm-hmm.
1000%. Like when I got the call that my mom died, do you know what I did instead of just crying and sitting in my space? I sat on the floor and called everybody that she knew to tell them
Mm-hmm.
because I didn't want them to find out on social
You
media.
got to handle it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's what I did. I sat on the
Yeah.
floor and sucked back my tears and just called everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I don't
Yeah.
even know what to say. So very interesting that you're
Yeah.
bringing that up.
Let me highlight a word. Um, your logical thinking brain.
Yeah.
So to the outside looking in, someone may say, "Oh yeah, that's logical for her to just call everybody."
She's handling it.
Mm-hmm.
She's handling it.
Yeah.
But that is not logical to you yourself because you're setting yourself to the side. You are not checking in with self first. What's logical is to check in with self first, make sure you're good, and then. But so that is a survival strategy. I heard this video, saw this video the other day, and I don't know who this girl was, but I felt like she just slapped me across the face like twice. Because I used to say
How
like
I
all
feel
the
now.
time, I love you though. It's with love and
I
I'm
love you
not
We were
too.
slapping you,
texting
okay?
before the podcast just to see if we could get you.
Clearly.
No,
No.
I'm messing around.
It's totally planned. No, I'm joking. But I always used to say like, oh, I'm a recovering people pleaser, and like I'm a people pleaser, blah blah blah. I'm a empath. And I saw this video, and she said, I bet you would stop calling yourself a people pleaser if you acknowledge what it really was, which is self-abandonment.
Mm,
And so just change it to like,
Mm,
yeah, I
I'm a
abandoned
self.
myself.
I'm a
And I
self
was
abandon.
like, oh God.
Yeah.
I don't want to say that. I don't want to admit that. And it's so funny because even in people pleasing, we have shaped the word to still make it feel good and sound good to
Yeah.
other people. Like
Mm,
it's something that we can be not ashamed of or proud of or don't feel as bad. Like we should not feel good about
Right.
abandoning ourselves at all. And so in
Yeah.
those moments, the strong friends, those of us who grew up always having to handle things, people lean on us for that. There's a sense of pride, misplaced pride in
Mm-hmm.
that, where like they know I'm going to handle it, so I can't let them down.
Yep.
But again, that's that self-abandonment piece, right? And we do that because we've been abandoned in some way all our lives. So we don't want to abandon anyone else, right? So trauma gets really, really, really deep once you start to peel back all these layers. And most people who are highly successful, overachieving, most of us may be suffering from depression, but it just looks very different. I know folks don't like the word high functioning
Yeah.
depression, but we actually could be very depressed because we have not dealt with the things that we've dealt with in our life. So when we have conversations like this, Dr. Lisa, it
Mm-hmm.
sounds so true because it's something you've lived. And I'm
Yeah.
sure that we all know another person that we can name that I'm describing in this way.
hmm
Definitely.
How do you help
Yeah.
people in that particular situation focus on those things that are keeping them stuck in that loop? Because what I'm hearing you say, and it's really powerful, is when we when our trauma leads us to take care of everybody else and then look at ourselves last,
Mhm.
it's also something that can be smiled upon and accepted by people. Look at this person, like, showed up for
It's
everybody around
praised.
them, right?
Yeah.
And I
Hmm.
think it's such a hard habit to break when it's coupled with that degree of praise,
And you feel
right?
bad breaking the habit.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Like, partially because it's praise, but also because you begin to identify with that.
Right.
Hmm.
And if
It's your
you
identity.
then say like, okay, I'm not going to do that, then there's a consequence on the other side of that. At least you feel it is,
Like my trauma manifested as like me showing up and like not being able to listen to people and like stomping on people and like so like I was the feedback I received was a little bit of praise for the achievement side of it,
Right.
but the people
Yeah.
inside that bubble were like, you need to do something about this. And
Hmm.
so I'm like,
Hmm.
okay, this is bad behavior and I need to figure out how to change this behavior and examine where this comes from in the first place. But when
Hmm.
it's like, yay, you're so great, you care for everybody, everything's so amazing, you're the nicest person in the world, I love you. Like there's
Hmm.
like less of
Hmm.
a reason to be like,
Hmm.
I'm the problem here,
Right.
Hmm.
because you're being
Hmm.
rewarded for it all the time. So I know
Yeah.
that's a long-winded, question there, but like how do we help unwind that for
Yeah.
people in that camp?
Well, I think so two things. People who operate this way can't be helped in isolation and they can't really kickstart it themselves. It
Mm,
takes healthy relationships for them to be able to work through these things. And for people who have this specific type of problem, whoever that friend or healthy relationship, whoever that person may be, they have to have a lot of patience coming into it because we're strong minded, right? Like, I've heard many a times, Vernisha, if you're so tired, don't do it. And I'm like, you don't understand. I got to. I have to. Right. But it's really we it's a reflection. So yes, no, so number one, this can't be done alone. You yourself can't do this alone. This is where talking to a therapist is really important because what they're gonna begin to help you walk through is understanding that for some reason we have associated our value and our worth with the praise that we give, that we receive for abandoning ourselves.
mm,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, oh, well, everybody is telling me good job and there's reward here. But in reality, it's not a reward. It is neglect of self. And
mm,
this reward over here is just kind of, it's just cover, it's masking it, right? So we take like this immediate type of gratification over the real work that needs to be done, which is everything that I've poured out to everyone for all of these years. I need to pour that back into myself. And there is nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
It's just, it's, if you think about like if you had a big garden that could feed the community, and every day you woke up to tend to that garden and you would feed that community, but you never fed yourself, you're gonna die.
Mhm.
You're gonna starve. You're gonna have tons of physical and mental health. It's going to take a toll on you and your body. And so I think when we people like us have to just break it down to something very tangible that we can fully understand. Every time you give a piece of yourself, every time you help someone else, I always ask myself, and I encourage these folks that can identify with this to ask yourself, did I help myself today first?
Mm.
Did I do anything to help myself first? It don't have to be big, it could be small, but did I do anything to help myself first today? And I'm telling you guys that just asking yourself that question, it changes a lot because in that moment when you answer no, you're like, oof, let me do something for myself real quick. It could be me, for example, eating this little kiss because, you know, I don't eat a lot of sweets. And right now, I haven't done anything for myself today. So I can reward myself with eating a little chocolate kiss, right? I can give myself a little bit of sugar. That's something that I've done for myself, right? So it's that type of mindset, though, it takes support to get there. Because I can tell you to ask that question, but that is not a normal question to ask for people who are always serving, people who are always pleasing. And I'll also go to say, like, work doesn't help this type of problem that we have, especially if you are in a space where you are serving and you are helping. Like, you know, that when you think about when people ask, like, what do you believe your purpose in life? Everybody says, well, I can't say everybody, but the majority of people say, I believe my purpose is to help people.
Mhm.
Okay, what if, just what if your only purpose in life was to enjoy it?
Mm.
What if? And what if enjoying life was the way you actually helped people?
Mm.
Yeah.
That's the wave I'm on right now. I know that I could
You bring a
help
beautiful
people
energy. Yeah.
if I enjoy my life. And if people witness me enjoying my life, then maybe they will say, I want to enjoy my life too.
Yeah.
And then that takes away this pressure and this feeling of like, I got to do what Vernisha is doing, or I got to do what this leader is doing, you know, to get to where they are to have this type of lifestyle they have. Or I could just simply say, I'm going to enjoy my life.
Yeah. That's such a powerful segment. I really love the garden analogy as well,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
the way I kind of view it is I feel like there's kind of two camps, and I know this because I feel like my partner and I are on the different sides of the camp, right? There's like the gardener who gives away everything and doesn't eat the food, and they end up dying, and there's the gardener who grows this beautiful crop and gives just a little bit away on the outside to the people who support them, but then says, I'm keeping the rest for myself. And it's like, how do we help each other find balance in
In
that?
the middle,
Because
yeah.
there's a real beauty to people who are quote unquote people pleasers, in that in their heart they do want to give, they do want to support, and it's really powerful if that comes from a genuine, authentic place, not in obligation or something that I have to do.
Yeah.
And so you've got that built in you, but you've got to learn how to do what you said. Wake up, go to your garden, eat your meal, make sure you got everything you needed, and then give the rest away,
Yeah.
right? And then give
Yeah.
the rest away. But when you're full and you have energy and you've taken care of yourself, and it's just, yeah, it's beautiful. It's hard. It's really, really hard. I know that from watching people grow. But
Yeah.
yeah, thank you for that analogy, and also for just coming back to like, what if my purpose was to enjoy
Just
my
enjoy
life?
life.
Yeah, I think we get
Which,
swept
yeah.
up in, I got to process this and I got to do that and I got to tackle this, and it's like, wait a second, what about like just being really happy with what I got?
Yeah,
You
that
Yeah.
know?
that hit hard because that sounds harder to do
Hmm.
Mhm.
than to help others. It's like I'm just gonna be honest.
Mm.
That
Yeah.
just I mean, and I try very hard to enjoy my life, but the thought of like, what if that's your purpose? And it's like,
Hmm.
whoa, like who?
Hmm.
Does it feel like selfish? Yeah, it feels like I'm being selfish to
Because it's
enjoy
like,
myself.
wait, but there's, and I do think it's important to enjoy your life, but to make it your purpose is like, wait, but what about
Hmm.
all the other people who can't enjoy their lives, or what about this situation here that you need to help? And so that I'm gonna be thinking about that for a while, and I'm glad that we had you on the podcast today, because as much as I thought I knew you, and as much as we've talked, this has still been like extremely eye opening,
Yeah.
and just a really fruitful and productive
Yeah, it's
conversation
been
for
great.
me.
It's been great. You know, normally I would
Yeah.
say, where can our listeners find you? But I feel like the right question is, do you want our listeners to
Do you
find
want
you?
them to
And then we
find
can
you
go from
right
there.
now?
Yeah, they could totally find me. I have some things that I'm cooking up, and I'm excited in the direction that I'm headed in at. But I won't make any announcements till July when I celebrate 9 years of entrepreneurship. But I have like a really
Yay.
cool shift in my journey that I'm making. So yeah, people can find me, on Instagram. That's the main platform that I use, which is just my name, Vernisha Crawford. And my website is just a personal page, VernishaCrawford.com, and you can kind of see all my things there. But yeah, that's how folks can find me. And of course, I want to be found, so people can witness me enjoying my life.
I
Absolutely.
love that. What I hear you saying is so beautiful. Is shine my light as bright as I can, blind all the
Yes,
people around me until their lights are bright too. And like
Mhm.
that's the
exactly.
responsibility is really
Let it
own it.
spill over.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you so
because I
much.
mean, it's kind of like the yin and yang. Like darkness will overcome light and light will overcome darkness. There has to be enough light shining to overcome darkness. And right now, there's a lot of darkness in the world. So,
Yeah.
you know, um, it's important to not allow yourself to be consumed by it and let it take over your light as much as you can. And so, yeah, I think trying to find as many things that you can, um, that you enjoy, and do those things is what will keep your light strong, is what will keep it shining. The darkness and light will always be simultaneously present.
Yeah,
There's where there's good, there's bad. Where there's evil, there's bad. Where there's hope, there's despair,
hmm
right? There's balance there, it's balance, but you can't let, those things overtake your ability to simply enjoy your life. One moment, one day, one meal, one conversation, one outfit, one book, one TV show, like one walk outside at a time. So, yeah.
Oh, well, thank you,
I love it.
Vernisha.
Thank you so much for your time
Yeah.
today. That was a beautiful conversation.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.